mic just a little bit closer to you. There you
Where
go.
are all the claps? I want to hear the
There you go.
applause. Like,
Oh,
oh,
because you ain't got these on. You got
see.
but you got your hat on, but you don't need them unless you got these on. Okay. So today we got you here today, and we know it's going to be warm in here today. So I'm going to let you hang in with us as long as you like to conversate with us on this. But give us a little bit of background first before we get going. What's been going on with you and what's going on with the organization?
So the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus Foundation,
Foundation.
OLBCF. We are the
Mhm.
nonpartisan 501c3
Mhm.
statewide Black policy think tank here in Ohio.
Okay.
And we focus on data and research to inform policy,
Mhm.
to ensure that we are representing Black Ohioans at the state level in everything that happens politically. And
Mhm.
we're the advocates for change. And so on Juneteenth, which was what, 2 weeks ago, right?
2 weeks ago.
We dropped our data and research study. It's called The State of Black Ohio Civic, the State of Black Civics and Power in Ohio.
Okay.
And so it talks about 603,000 Black Ohioans who are registered to vote but don't participate in midterm elections.
Mhm.
We briefly talked on this, I think, was it in May when I was
Mhm.
here? So we
Mhm.
briefly talked about it, but we didn't have the report and the data finalized. So we just released the report. And what we realized, if we're speaking specifically about Cuyahoga County, since that's where we are in
Mhm.
Cleveland
Mhm.
today,
Mhm.
there are 162,000 Black people in the Cleveland metro area. So that's including our inner ring suburbs as well, who
Mhm.
are not voting in midterm elections. That's the season that we're currently in. And so our goal is to inform the community, inform civic organizations, inform candidates, inform political parties
Mhm.
to focus on re-engaging Black people. But in order to do that, we have to give them something to be inspired and empowered by, and a reason to want to get out and vote. I believe this is considered low-hanging fruit because these are people who participate during presidential elections,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But they're not voting in the midterm because clearly we aren't doing a good enough job of keeping them informed and engaging them of why midterms are so important. That's where most of the day-to-day impact is happening, right?
Is that what your report found? That's why Black folks isn't voting, you believe?
Well, our report was more about the data of who isn't voting.
Okay.
And so the barriers that exist is what we formulated based off of what we've seen historically. Now, we do have our State of Black Ohio survey out where we're trying
Mhm.
to ask Black Ohioans.
Mhm.
We need 5,000 people across the state to complete this survey, why they're not voting. And
Mhm.
we're hoping that this survey and this data set of at least 5,000 will give us a better gauge of why, so that we can use that to then create policy in 2027 to help inform what the issues are. But we believe at the foundation that it has a lot to do with misinformation and people not really understanding what's happening at the state level. And as elected officials in this political space, us really not tapping back to what their day-to-day needs are. We speak very high level, but they don't understand that when a person knows that they're in a food desert, they can barely afford childcare. The bus route is not beneficial for them to get to and from work. Those are the issues that are impacting them every day. We can't continue to beat people up and say Black folks need to vote. They ain't showing. It's bigger than that.
Mhm.
Everything has to be personal. People have to feel tied to something. And I believe that everyone in this political space needs to realize that the voters own the power, but the voters have to feel that way too. And we've
Mhm.
got to get engaged. So we have a responsibility. Pointing the finger saying who is not the answer, because that ain't worked.
Mhm.
It ain't worked. And our numbers continue to rise year after year. We've also found in this study that out of that 162,000 here in Cuyahoga County, that about 100,000 approximately are in our inner ring suburbs.
Mhm.
And so we need to really push the envelope to ensure that those individuals are being focused on. A lot of times efforts go specifically to the city of Cleveland, but we need to focus on all Black Ohioans. And if we look at these numbers, we see that statewide offices, they kind of happen based on whatever political party by a 5 to 8 point margin.
Mhm.
If we could get 300,000 of these 600,000 statewide to show up and vote,
Mhm.
we could actually change seats and possibly get people in office that will represent our needs. But again, we've got to tie it back to the community. So what the foundation has done is created a series called Civic AF. and the AF stands for All Facts. It's a digital video series that we put out twice a month to really talk about the baseline issues and tie it back to the political process so that people can be engaged. I'm not the face of that because I don't believe that I'm the person that can necessarily speak directly to the community at all times. We have an amazing young lady named The Lowdown, and she does this digital series for us. So we dropped our first one on Juneteenth, and we were intentional about Juneteenth, right? We know everything that is happening in the South, and we know that voting has been our way to fight through this democracy and capitalism here in America. We got to get back to that.
So do you, so we do know, we can hear that. I hate to do that to you. But we do know that the city of Cleveland does have the largest block of people who doesn't vote. You know, I know the suburbs does have that, but the city of Cleveland, is you guys gonna do any studies you think that's gonna address real areas such as the city of Cleveland where you have such a large group of numbers of people? I'll give you a perfect example. You got areas like Richard Starr, Ward 5, where we at right now. And Ward 5 has the largest number of registered voters that are there that doesn't vote here in the city of Cleveland. So pound for pound, we know that if we wanted to increase the voter turnout in Cleveland, we have to do something really good with Ward 5 or somewhere and doing that. And I think the challenge with me that I've been looking to see what ideas and people are coming up with, and maybe you can answer this, is that when we look at a city council race that just took place that had Councilman Starr and the Rebecca Morrow lady who was running against them in that particular race, that was a fine area where they dumped maybe about over $100,000 right in that one area to try to get those people to vote. But still, almost less than 2,000 people actually even did it. So when you get to that kind of, you have those kind of numbers, what do you think is the issue with those kind of things? And as your report being able to dig into that, because that's the apathy that we're talking about. And we can't say that is the elected official, because Richard Starr is somebody who's from down there, somebody who knows him, you know what I mean? So, you know, and he spent a lot of time knocking on doors. He's one of them, but he still wasn't able to move that margin any. What's your thoughts on that kind of thing?
So I'm not an expert in why people don't do the things they do, but what I'm speaking specifically about, and I think that we have to stay very focused on what the foundation does, right? And so I can speak to what our report is about. And we're talking about midterm primary elections. We're talking about people that actually vote during general presidential elections, but are not voting in the off years this year. That's the group of
but
people.
But that's the same people not voting in council races or anything else too.
Well, you gonna let me finish?
Yeah, I mean, we got to have a discussion.
No,
I mean,
yeah. But let me get this part out. And so what I'm simply saying is I can't specifically answer that. That is not the work that the foundation does. But we pull the data because what I've heard time and time again is that we don't have data about Black people in Ohio. Okay. So we got funding
to pull the data
statewide. We do not have funding to break it down at a local level, but what we do have is a report that civic organizations and other individuals who are on the ground doing the work can use to tell a bigger story. Now, personally, I have pulled some very specific data, and yes, Cleveland is a big issue, but I'm telling you, from the missing Black voters during midterm elections, 100,000 of them are coming from inner ring suburbs. And so I'm not saying it's one over the other, Cleveland versus that, but I'm saying there's a pool of out of that 162,000 that we could really be focused on. And when we look at, and this is just an example, when we look at Euclid has the highest concentration in population of Black people out of all the suburban areas, and Cleveland Heights is second. We know that voter turnout in inner ring suburbs average about 20 to 28% each midterm election. The needle does not move. It doesn't matter what community they're in. So it's happening in Shaker, all of that, and our top ranking, communities. I think it's a lot of issues. And I think, and I'm not, so I wasn't accusing elected officials of doing anything wrong. But what I am saying is that people don't see change happening. And we're not explaining to people what Councilman Starr is actually doing and how that's still tangible for their day-to-day lives. What people are seeing is CMSD is closing schools. What people are seeing is that they don't have a grocery store. What people are experiencing is that they can't go out here and catch the RTA to get to their job and pick their child up from childcare, and they don't have a voucher system anymore. That's what they're experiencing every day. We've got to make this stuff very practical. If you check out one of our videos, Civic AF, your girl, Lo,
Yeah, I
that's what she
checked her.
calls
I saw
herself.
it.
One of the things that she said is that you're not doing an elected official a favor by voting for them. You're voting for yourself, because guess what? Those people who are elected, they vote on your behalf. So they're going to vote anyway. So I think that we just got to get back to the practical nature of explaining. Door knocking is not the answer per se. And I'm not saying that I know what the answer is. What I'm saying is that I have the data, and we've got to push and do something, because Black people matter and Black people should be counted. And if we continue to not show up, they're continuing to take our rights from us, and it's going to get even worse. We're in a midterm election right now. So we have an opportunity over the next 5 months to do something.
Right.
And all I'm saying is, here's the data. What is that something? What we can do at the foundation is our Civic AF digital series, in hopes that that will translate into something very practical to someone who is sitting at home every day, ticked off with the system, ticked off with me and everybody else, understandably so.
Well, Judge, what you think? Oh, we need to. Lateef, roll the mics over.
You know, I'm not even going to try to figure out why we have become so discouraged that we don't vote. I'm not even going to try to figure out. I have talked to people across our community who will cuss you out when you talk to them about voting. I was at the 5th District not too long ago talking about the improvements that were being made as a result of our making the leadership, city's leadership aware of the deteriorating condition. There was a young man there, and I said, "Hey, bro, you gonna vote?" The only reason we didn't get into a fight is because I'm too old to fight now. I'm 77, so I'm too old to fight. But he was ready to.
I want to see that.
He was ready to go to the mat.
Well, Art McCoy got no fight.
He was prepared to go to the mat.
Wow.
For me, because he felt insulted.
Because you asked him to vote?
about voting?
And his thing was, why should I vote? You all ain't doing nothing for us.
Right.
And I looked around the community and I said, well, let me formulate an argument to respond to him. So I gave him the usual, you know, if you don't vote, you can't complain.
Right.
If you vote, you get services.
Right.
He wasn't hearing that. He's lived in the Collier community, the East Glenville community for a while. And he lived on Templin. I think that's the name of the street. Or was it Hopkins? On Hopkins, there are 3 houses.
That's it. That's it. It used to be a bunch of houses, though. There used to be a whole street.
First class, community.
Yeah.
And now there's 3 or 4 houses.
Right.
So I said, look, I'm gonna invite you to a meeting because that's what we do, man. We do meetings. We do meetings.
It's not a boxing meeting.
But the issue is that, you know, those of us who have experienced the benefits of this community starting at 54, we have really, really, really got to emphasize, you know, what it was like when you didn't have these rights. Because see, you know, the United States is celebrating its 250th year. We've only been citizens for 60 years.
Right.
Our citizenship began in August the 6th, 1965, when the Voting Rights Act was passed. Before then, we were just hangers on, lookers and waiters in many parts of the country. So we don't really have this real legacy of how voting helps us.
Yeah.
Yet. And we have thousands of groups, many nonprofits, who can't do partisan stuff. This is a country of partisanship. And if you ain't in the game talking about, we need this person to help elevate the conditions we have, having these nice conversations about, well, you know, we doing this, that, and other, that ain't driving the needle. MAGA, was that the first group that we started? The Jerry Falwell group, the Moral Majority, and the one before that, the Tea Party.
Tea Party.
They wasn't no nonpartisan. We gonna kick some black folks behind and we're gonna put white folks, and we're gonna put not decent white folk. We're gonna put some evil ass white people in these positions. And they've got it. and their president and leader is now Donald Trump.
Hey, we're gonna welcome back a stranger to the program.
Stranger.
She's been gone for over a month.
Yeah.
A whole month. I mean, it's like
Over a month, gone.
Just like ain't even talking, ain't even call check on us or nothing.
I got to see her last Thursday in her usual context of leadership. She was leading the
Somebody
Deltas.
said they heard she was in town. Matter of fact, I heard she was in town because I saw the same flyer on the internet that said that she was doing something with the Deltas. I said, oh, she must be back in town.
Yeah, and I got a phone call, y'all. I got a phone call. But that's what family is for. Our radio family is that I got a phone call from Kenn concerned about my whereabouts.
Hey, it was like, I was talking to the judge. I said, man, I'm going to call her and say, what's up? I mean, good Lord, she's been gone for well over a month.
Yeah, since Memorial Day. So from Memorial Day, I went to Houston, preached in Houston, left Houston, went to Canada, got back from Canada, flew to New York, got back from New York, went to Houston again, got back there, came back, went to New Orleans, and then came back, and it was the Delta event.
You've been to all the tough spots of the country.
Yeah.
Spreading all that wisdom across the country.
Doing a couple workshops here and there too, as well as promoting books. So promoting I'm Single, So What? Still, that's in the rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, there's a bunch of people that's still single and they need
to
talk about it. So what? Still promoting that, and then got to promote the new book, Student Success in Historically Black Spaces. So doing some things with that, and
rocking a new t-shirt.
It's actually not new. I was going through some other shirts and I finally found it, and I had been looking for this shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of the people so I can give them not because they ain't pay me for no sponsorship, but I can't even think right now in my mind. But no, it's been a good month, but it's been busy and tiring, and it's caught up to me.
Oh,
it's caught up to
now
me.
You need to rest a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm headed to Detroit tomorrow for Delta Regionals. So
and they have a big concert up there tomorrow. Was it Chris
Brown and Usher, which will be here on Tuesday in Cleveland, July 7th.
But it's better to see the inside of the Ford place up there in Detroit.
Yeah, and they actually added shows. They have 3 shows now.
Wow,
you would know that.
I would, but I mean, I will be on chaplain duty, so I will be doing ministerial work while I am in Detroit for the weekend.
Music ministry.
Lord, please help.
That's somebody else's category.
Over there watching Chris Brown and Usher and praying over.
Now I'll be watching Chris Brown and Usher on Tuesday.
Lord, she'll be chaplain and say, Lord, please help these drunk people.
I bet look at them, Lord. Just look how they act.
Yeah. But before we go, Kenn, I want to go back to something because I don't want.
I do too.
I don't want Shayla to think that we disrespect her hard work.
No, it's just that
we have thousands of groups.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a ministers meeting a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Went to 2 of them. It took us about the second one. Took us a nice meeting. It took about 45 minutes to get through the backslapping, and by the time they got ready to do the substance stuff, I had to leave because I had to come here to the radio station. But they was backslapping, man. Bam.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, we gonna get to. I know you got your doctorate and you got your this, that, and other. When we gonna get to the substance of what we need to do about this voting thing?
Mm-hmm.
And the parking lot was full of cars that cost $80 to $90 and $100,000. And the theme was we in crisis.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they had G-Wagons.
Oh yeah.
And
Cadillac.
The Cadillac was a cheap car. Then they had Porsche Macans. They had Porsche Macans, and they had what's that other one? The Alfa Romeo SUVs. I mean, it was like, okay, we in crisis. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Got you.
So, let me tap into that a little bit. Yep, there are thousands of nonprofit organizations everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But if we want to be real factual about Black nonpartisan organizations, we're limited in what we can do. And that's because of regulations through who's elected, right? Who decides at the federal level what a 501c3 can be. And so we've got a Democratic Party. And so there's a party that, as Shayla as the individual, that I'm a part of, right? And I think that it's incumbent upon us to force our party to do something. But the nonprofit organization arm, I'm specifically looking at Black people and trying to make sure they're represented, because this isn't happening at the state level. Everybody could be saying the same thing, but we aren't moving the needle. And I don't know what the answer is to bring us all together. But what I can tell you is that funding is very limited. And when I look at our organization, when I apply for funding, even at the national level, it is very low. It is very minimal. And you look at other organizations that are nonprofits, some here in Cleveland, I'm not going to mention their names. They can put out a poverty study and they get all this money in the world. But we don't get that. So I'm operating from a very limited resourced budget, which also means capacity is low and limited. I continue to say that. So everybody wants more. And just like you said, you in a parking lot with upwards of $85,000 or more vehicles. How many of them have put $1 in the foundation to help and support the work that we do? We can't change. I know that we need to also have a C4. We can't even establish that, which allows us to then, when it is, time for elections, we have a separate arm that really focuses on that level of advocacy. But that costs money too. I got to have the money to do that. I have a slew of interns right now. Why? If I'm being real honest, because we can't afford to pay anybody to do the work. I don't have enough funding. Just like next week, I go to Cincinnati. They want me to be on a radio show to talk about this report. They're very excited. Cleveland has a wealth of resources. Some other places across the state have a wealth of resources, but the ability to move the needle is the question that I question just as well. But I know we are supposed to be here. The foundation has been around for 30 some odd years. We just started doing this research level work, and it's important that we do it. Everyone says, the data tells the story. The data tells the story. So we develop the data to help tell the story. But it takes a whole lot of everything to move the needle. I can, but I ain't.
Doctor?
You can, but you can't. Come on, Shayla.
So I agree that there are far too many organizations out here, but that ain't my job to tell them what they can and can't do. All I can do is focus on what the foundation is doing and try to ensure that we're showing up adequately and doing what we were asked to do. Because last year, that's all I heard. Well, where's the data? Where's the data? Where's the data? And no one has done data for Black people in this state or at the local level yet. So it can be 10,000 nonprofits, but that's not what they're focused on.
So I have a question for you. And in that, and with people saying, where's the data? Who's asking for the data?
Elected officials, civic organizations, everybody.
Yeah. And the reason that I say that is because of who we're trying, if we're talking about who we're trying to reach. And, I jumped in the conversation like I always do at 15 minutes late.
You do be
but
late.
I do. It's a bad habit. But let me.
I got here
on
early.
Tuesdays.
Well, we know why you late. Go ahead. You good.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yep.
Keep
You
going.
be busy, Doc. You be busy.
Oh,
Tuesday
she
is
got her
care
mom.
getting. I have my mom, so I have to drop my mom at dialysis before. Yeah, me and Judge got mom duty, so that's what. And if depending on how she moving,
That's
determines what the day gonna look like at me getting here 12. But in that, the reason that I asked that is because this is one of the things that I dealt with higher ed very often is where is the data? Where's the data on hiring? And I used to tell people, we know we keep arguing about the data and what the data says, but you know the problem. And that's why I asked with that, because that's the thing about it is, as elected officials, y'all know the problem. You know the data. And it's not to minimize what you're doing, because we need the data. I'm the data proponent. I think data tells the story, whether it's qualitative or quantitative. So we need the data. But I sometimes wonder, is that an excuse to keep pushing back and to not do what needs to be done? Is that I say, this year we needed the data. You produce all the data. So what's the excuse after you've produced all the data?
Right.
So I think it's multifaceted. If you really look at the philanthropic aspect of this work, there aren't any Black people leading the philanthropic arm. Let's just speak locally, and then we can speak nationally. Is there a Black philanthropic organization that is really focused on that?
True.
So that is what the funders are saying. We can't do as much as I love my people, I have to eat, y'all. I'm not willing to be homeless to fight for my people, because I got to eat or I ain't gonna be here, right? So it's all these things that are coming together, and the people that fund us don't typically look like us, and they're only giving us a very small amount. That's what they require. So if regulations were different, then we probably could move the needle differently. It's just so much. Go ahead, Judge.
If we're in this has nothing to do with you and what you're doing. What you do is necessary. But if we actually in this fight for our lives, like everybody says we are, we cannot be treating this thing like the people did when Noah was talking about the flood. And I use that Bible story only because Noah was preaching about the flood for 120 years, and everybody was in their usual thing. Right. They was having sets. Right. You know, they was having parties. They were at the Jazzies doing their thing. They was going to the concert. They was hanging.
I'm doing the work before I hang out with them.
But that's not a reference. I'm just talking about our general attitude about this crisis. We have a court that said, no, we ain't doing nothing to help no Negroes keep their districts. No, we ain't doing that. You crazy. No, we're not giving women these rights. Now, they did something unique yesterday on this birthright citizenship, but today, that was, this is an unpredictable court. But the fact of the matter is that we have state governments that don't give a hoot about you if you ain't white.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, this is not a slam on, because there's some, all white people don't think like this, but we need those white people to attack the ones who do.
Period.
But we
attack them, but don't think that you know the story better than the people who are representing the story.
That's right. But don't always let your majority represent you in foolish matters.
Yep.
When I look at, I don't know, it's fear. I don't know if it's anxiety, but there's no reason that our president of the United States should do the things he does with these people in these positions, because they've read the Constitution. They've looked at it. There's a separation of church and state for a reason. It has nothing to do with you not being able to pray in school. It has to do with not establishing one religion over another. Okay, so they know that. So why would they in Texas and say, yeah, we're going to do Bible classes every day in school? I mean, they know that it's written in the Texas and the United States Constitutions. So why do people do these ignorant things now? Is it out of fear, anxiety? I know Donald Trump does his stupid stuff because Barack Obama has taken the part of his left brain where the thoughts come from and just destroyed it because he lives there. And if that's the case, then Trump nor his MAGites will ever get over their fear of not being Barack Obama. And you can take that analogy and stretch it out because, not voting, there's a reason. And I've looked at how they took everybody's land that lived in Opportunity Corridor, how they taken all the land for people living down on 40th so they can, in the project, so they can create this highway and everything and just displace them, just throw them out to Euclid.
Yeah.
Just throw them out. Y'all go to Euclid. Now Euclid has a new burden. Their tax base will never be able to sustain what's coming out there. They knocked down Morris Brown. Where are those people at now? Okay, they should knock it down and improve it. Where are they though? And will they be able to come back? So I can see why people are pissed off with politics in general.
Yeah.
So how much of this is our fault?
I ain't had nothing to do with Opportunity Corridor.
No, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about when I say our fault, how much of this stuff that we talk about falls within the Black community itself, its leaders. And when I say leaders, I'm not just talking about political leaders. I'm talking anybody who call themselves an influencer or a leader. That piece, because let me get this.
Kenn just trying to be controversial. Now I know where this question is coming from.
Because I'm writing the Substack. It's gonna be out tomorrow. I did one of this, and the name of it is The Same Play, Getting the Same Results. We're talking about the Democratic Party and what's going on in this midterm election with everybody who are playing the same role. We're into July right now. And right now, organizing wise up here in Cuyahoga County is very minimum, if zero.
It's absent.
Is absent. Okay. So July, and guys, I don't know about y'all, but time be flying. I mean, before we know it, we're gonna be in August. And we right back to where Representative, that 90-day race, like they always like to do. And what happens in the 90-day race? It turns down to a 6-week race in the Black community. 90 days is the 90-day race that's the community, which is the suburbs and everywhere else that you talked about. The 6-week campaign is the inner city Cleveland, because now we want to pay people to go door to door. It's the same campaign over and over and over and over again. I know it. I've been doing it for 20 years. I know the play. It's the same play over and over, and we're in that same route now. So when I say it's our fault, I'm just not saying, I'm asking. Because when we talk about low voter turnout, we talk about voter apathy, and we talk about these organizations that's supposed to be out here doing that and doing the work. It seems to me that if we were working hard enough throughout the rest of the year, trying to get these races to turn out for these council, mayor races, the same thing, because the vote is the vote. It's nothing different in midterm and presidential year than any other time. When they say it's time to vote, you go vote. But you say there's people who drop, I'm not going to vote for my council. I'm not going, but there's something that we're not doing. And here's why I say that is because we should start it earlier on trying to get our vote out, but it should have came within the campaign of our own community. If we want really true power for them or anybody else to feel as if our vote matters, it has to have some power behind it. We have to show. They look, you said it yourself. They look at the numbers and they know that Cleveland is only going to be this every year. We can just bank on it. We can bank on the fact that the suburbs is going, they do these reports year after year. After every election, they do the same report. You want to know where black people voted at? Go to the Board of Elections. They give you the same information. You can get that. They know that. So my point is they're not doing nothing. And it's our community. When a campaign like what's happening with the statewide campaigns and those guys, they should be begging the black community to support them. They should beg our leaders and everyone else for us to vote as a block like we normally do, to come out and vote for Sherrod Brown or Amy Acton or anyone else. But they know we only have to do so much, because no matter what we do, we know Cleveland ain't going to do but so much. We already know that the suburbs only going to do so much. So therefore, we get treated that way. That hence the big voter apathy that we get in our community with our people who don't want to vote, because as a result of that, we don't get nothing. They don't treat us. They don't give us nothing. We don't have no power. And we lost that power because our own community is not advocating for us to be better, in my opinion. Now, we say, I don't know the answer, but we all giving our opinions, and in my opinion, that's what I think.
Well, we got some thoughts on this thing.
But I mean, I think we're all.
Let's get some thoughts on it. I'm just throwing some thoughts around.
We got some thoughts.
Yeah, but I think we're all responsible. I mean, just to what Judge Nelson said, we're talking about 60 years. We're not talking about 250.
Right.
We're talking about 60 years.
Right.
And I think it goes beyond even someone being elected. What have we done in our own homes?
Correct.
When we're having Juneteenth barbecues and all of those things, are we actually talking about the history of what our people experience? Because this generation today, they don't get it. I'm Gen X, I think, right? That's the one right after the boomers, right? So I'm really the first generation of receiving all the benefits of the hard work of the civil rights, right? But generations after that, they only understand life the way they see it today.
Oh yeah.
We haven't done a good job of telling the history. And so what I believe, I'm putting it on all of us.
That's correct.
What we do,
that's correct.
We get our good jobs, our good education.
Right.
And we move out of our communities, or we don't create a community that is ours to own. And it's been done before. We seen it. Now we saw them burn it down, tear it down, and take it away. But we aren't doing that. We get into these positions and we move away, and we forget about everything that has happened, and our kids experience something totally different. And so there is no value add back to it. And then you ride past this. You're not living in it, but there are people living in it every single day. So I think I think we're all responsible. We're all guilty on a multitude of levels. And I don't even want to talk about elected officials. What are we doing in our own families and homes?
Yeah.
Let me pose you want to add something?
Well, I agree. I agree that we are all responsible. And I have to always go back to dates. Is when you think about the fact that one, everybody in here
everybody gonna be using your fan.
Well, I couldn't turn my fan on because you can hear it on air, so I had to cut my fan off. Y'all, it's hot in this station. Let me just say that when the judge is even sweating, it's hot.
It's hot in here.
But we have to put that in perspective of what we've taught the generations coming after us.
Mhm.
And we have not taught them to value voting because we had it, we took it for granted.
Yeah.
And so they don't know. And until we step up and actually, like one thing I do in my classroom, you can't say back in the day to me. Because back in the day to them means 2000.
2020.
That is 2000.
Right.
Like I had somebody say that they said, I was in New Orleans and I had gone to the Leona Tate Center. And she was talking about how a student said to her, well, when it was slavery in 1990, the 1990s, right. So, but this is conceptually because you have to remember, they are thinking that when you're young, you're thinking so far ago is 1990. And so if you think about the fact that we've only had rights in this country since 1964.
Right.
And that is not enough to push the needle, but we have a responsibility of a community to educate, and we have not educated. I say this in the church, I say this in the schools, I say this anywhere I go. We have not educated us the way we need to be educated about history and the impact that it's had, because we've raised our children in this so-called integration space. This space is not true equality and fairness for anybody. But all they know is this, and they think, oh, I got this. And then we move them to the suburbs and they think that they are just as equal, fair, and everything else. But the reality is when you step outside of your bubble in your home, as was stated, is that you see that it's not that. So I go back in the home is one of the places where you should be getting a Black history lesson. You should be getting education, understanding the importance of voting. Then when you leave the home, you're going to do it.
And let me just add one last thing. And it doesn't even have to be so abstract that we're talking about John Lewis. Let's talk about my uncle, who I grew up in Garfield Heights. And back in 1984, we were told back in the day, because I lived up the hill, you don't drive down the hill past 9 p.m. because Garfield Heights police are sitting there on Broadway and they will arrest you. And how he was going to a concert at the front row, got pulled over, accused of having robbed a corner store somewhere. And they made him lay on the ground with his suit, stepped on his back, pulled a gun to his head, pulled this little date. He had just got his little car and pulled this date out on the ground. Let's talk about those historical moments that actually happen to people we know. Because when you make it that practical and that real, my uncle never shared that story with me until 2022 when I lost my mayor's race in Garfield. He had tears in his eyes on my deck. I never knew this story. Now I remember being a little girl and we would cut our little holidays and parties short because my family had to get back to Akron. And you don't go down the hill, period, past 9 o'clock in Garfield Heights. And my uncle shared that story in 2022. That happened to him in the 80s. In the 80s.
And that's a whole nother show topic of talking about when we talk about, I think about Dr. Joy DeGrury's book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and talks about the impact that all of this has had on us. But as you said, sit at the feet of those that are around you to hear what stories they have, but also how voting impacted and changed some of the trajectories of some of those stories. And I think that's just it's lost, and we have devalued what it means to have rights and for what it means for us to be able to vote.
Now, let me tell you something. If you want to get into a real argument, talk to those who have been running campaigns who haven't been able to produce turnout and bring a new idea. You will have a fight on your hands because they will swear, ain't nothing wrong. We did everything right. And if you just give them a little suggestion. I remember when we were talking in the last election, and Ken, you and I were talking, there were some young guys, you know, they were younger, much younger than me and a little younger than you. And we were saying, you know, we ought to turn these cats loose, let them do this thing. Remember we were sitting in the meeting and talked to 2 young guys and said, man, get them some. We need to get them some money so they can get busy. Cut these guys loose. Let them go out there in these streets and confront some of the people who will look at us like we crazy, but who are their contemporaries. But they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to discuss that. And it's just parochial. Like, no. So
that wasn't even a discussion. It wasn't even entertaining. It was just a no.
So let's talk let's talk to Unicorn for a minute. She has that thing she does on Thursday. You still doing that thing on Thursdays?
Unicorn trying to
Take time.
hydrate.
Coconut water. Be hydrated. And
She's
it's
trying to
hot.
hydrate him.
Unicorn trying to survive.
Yeah.
Trying to survive.
I tell you.
But if we engage, she meets with these people on Thursday nights in Cleveland Heights. I think it was Thursday night. And it's too late for me because
Yeah, that's the poetry. When we in the bed.
I was about
Yeah.
to say, wait, are we talking party?
But
or
there's two
politics?
different things.
You do a lot of
I'm in a
stuff.
lot of different things.
Yeah, you do a lot of stuff.
No,
but
you're
meet-
talking about the neighbor.
The
The
neighborhood.
neighbor,
thing.
okay.
Yeah.
Hello Neighbor campaign in
Yeah.
the People's Office,
Right.
launched by Project Lift.
Yeah.
And look. Yes, that's every second Tuesday.
Yeah, maybe we should get their opinion and her opinion about how, why, and how.
Well,
About what's
it
up.
should be an open mic, maybe
Yeah,
Unicorn. But to your point, I think organizations like Unicorns organizations and others
Mhm.
are the ones that we need to kind of do those type of open mic things too.
Right.
Representative Shayla L. Davis, president
the L.
of the
Right,
OLDC
Shayla L.
Foundation, it also has a survey
Mhm.
that she is getting out and putting out to people that we're going to help push around as well and get people to fill out this survey and send it back in to get it. But also, I think to our point,
Did I miss what the survey subject matter?
go ahead.
It's the State of Black Ohio survey. And so the intent of the survey, and I know it's 1,000 surveys out, people are always asking for opinions, but this is the first time the foundation has asked, and we're trying to lead a movement where we're actually going to the community saying what policy changes, what issues are your issues, so that we can design a State of Black Ohio policy agenda and push the legislators at the
Yeah.
state level to move it forward. And my thing is this, I'll be the first to say it, I probably shouldn't. And if the Black folk who are representing you aren't representing you the way you want them to represent you, vote them out. That's the power of the vote. And or the other side, the white people representing you, hold them accountable. We lack in doing a lot of that. It's not just the vote. It's after we voted, what ownership do we take? Nonetheless, the State of Black Ohio survey, the intent behind it is to really get the perspective so that we can grasp and understand it. Because I'll speak truly from being a state representative, what ends up happening, you know, the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the worm or the early bird gets the worm. What happens is you come into my office from your organization and you say, you bring me this report, right? And you say, this is what I need. This is what's happening in my community. That's what I hear. That's what I see. That's what I advocate for. I'm not advocating for Unicorn because I haven't heard from Unicorn. So I'm trying to bring the perspective of Unicorn's group back to the State House to develop something that really is the people's agenda. That's the goal of it.
Y'all be acting like Unicorn so young. No, I'm just
I'm saying.
Hold the horse, honey.
for you. I don't know why she
Just because you
decided
saw
to-
actual horses that carry don't mean I'm not so youthful. Now, I know I'm going into my 40s and it is a milestone for me. And I'm sensitive about it.
All right,
I'm sure you remember us.
I do. I do.
So don't do that.
It was 38 though. It was actually 38 that took me over.
I know, I moved.
It was 38.
I'm there, honey.
I think we all we every time we talk, somebody get a bead of sweat.
Yeah.
Well, you know-
Hold on, we
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
plug
yeah.
through this, and today
Yeah.
this clock is ticking slow as hell.
It is.
I mean, it
Yeah.
usually be zooming. We be through this program today. I'm looking at the clock like, man, it's still going.
But let me wish my daughter Ebony happy birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday, Ebony.
Happy
Ebony's
birthday.
30th. Ebony, I'm sorry, Ebony's 30th. No, Ebony's birthday is today, the 30th.
30th. Excellent.
All right.
Excellent.
Happy
Excellent.
birthday.
But you know, this issue is really a life or death issue
Yeah.
because the administration we are locked in now, and many states are following his leadership. They're cutting food. They're cutting medical care. They're cutting research. I listened to the commercials that are being run against Amy Acton about the COVID.
Man,
Yes,
they're killing her,
they
boy.
killing her.
But the lies they tell,
They killing her.
the lies they tell, the lies they tell. In
Mm.
fact, what she did was probably the most effective thing that can be done under those circumstances.
Mm.
So the opposition that is challenging her, they'd have killed everybody.
Well, today they said she's a drug addict and a wino.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
crazy, man.
I was like, wow.
I saw that last
I
night.
was like,
But you know
wow,
what?
they
Judge,
just came at her.
you make a good point. And my grandmother used to say this saying to me. Because what you're talking about is the blatant lies. They just lying,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
we know that. That's all we see now.
Mhm.
I'm not even going to use the fancy fluff of misinformation. But my grandmother used to say,
Mhm.
a lie will never beat the truth.
Mm.
And so if we rely on the truth, what are we doing to take the truth and make it known. And I think I will tell you, as a former candidate, when I ran for office, it was Kenny knows it was so many lies told about me, and I've been through some stuff in that city of Garfield Heights with the death threats, all of that, being chased down. But anyway, I was told multiple times by political strategists, don't respond. Focus on this. I think some of the strategy in the approach, back to your point, we can't keep doing what we've been doing for the last 50 years, because it's not a different regime, to be honest, because let's go back to 1971 after the voter rights passed and all of that. And we talk about the Powell memo that came out that said to upend all of this. And that's what they've been working off of since 1971. And now it's coming to fruition. If we really want to have a real conversation, that's why Project 2025 exists. If you go back and read the Powell memo from 1971, it is exactly what Project 2025 is. This didn't just start to happen. So let me get back on track, because I'm getting distracted. And I don't remember now.
Well, no,
that's
okay. Hold on, because this is what I wanted to do. I want you to go on and give us your closing, because it's hot. And we're going to give some music for the last couple of minutes over here. And we're going to get out of here. So I'm going to let you go, Judge. Then we're going to let Dr. Burton do her thing, because she was the last to come in. So we're going to let her tell us what her little thing and end it. So you got a couple of minutes. Do your thing, Judge, Doctor, myself, and we out of here. Go ahead.
So again, the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus Foundation released our State of Black Civic Power in Ohio on Juneteenth. We're asking people across the state to look at it at the local level and decide what you can do with that to encourage Black people to vote. I am volunteering my time personally, not as OLBCF, because we're nonpartisan, but as Shayla Davis, a Black Democrat who is very interested in ensuring that Black people vote, developing a plan to fight and push back here locally to try to re-engage Black voters. Do I have the answer? Absolutely not, but I'm gonna do everything in my power to assist. But let me say this one last part, and this is not a knock at my people, but the first person to call me a week and a half ago was a white organization to say that they would give me money to help me execute this. So some of this we have to be honest about. And I know we don't always have the resources, but when we do have the resources, where are we putting them to make sure that things get moved? I'm willing to volunteer my time. It's limited, but I can only do so much. And our state, back to the foundation now, the State of Black Ohio survey, we need people to complete that, because we want to try to develop a true people's agenda. And then it will be up to us to fight and push to ensure that it moves forward in the next GA with those Black folk who are elected at the State House. Actually, everyone to be held accountable. I cannot do it alone as Shayla L. Davis. I cannot do it alone as the president and CEO of the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus Foundation. But I think together we can. We started this conversation talking about the suburbs versus Cleveland. I think that's a larger part of our problem too. The haves and the have-nots. We are all Black at the end of the day, and that's all they see, and that is who they're harming and hurting, no matter where we live. If it's under a rock, if it's in a housing project, if it's in a high-rise downtown, or if it's in the city of Garfield Heights on my little raggedy street, we're all suffering the same suffrage. We've got to come together. I'm no better than anybody else. I want to have an impact, and whatever that looks like, so that I can support, I'm here to do that.
And they can get information. I'm telling real quick where they
can get the survey and
www.olbcfoundation spelled out.org.
So now also, I got another question. Is there a way that the survey is being disseminated that we can forward it to people and that sort of thing, besides just going to the website?
Yeah, so it's on all of our social media. It's in our newsletter, and we've shared it with organizations that we've tried to partner with across the state. So anybody can reach out to ask for or find it on our social media and just share it. It's a QR code, simple link. We know people like digital things now. Social media is fast, quick, and that's how it moves.
So y'all hear that. It's available on social media. So you click, send it, share. Make sure not only are you filling it out, but that you're sharing it with others.
And we're going to put it on our stuff here. So
you have it.
Yeah, we have it, and we're going to tag it on all our stuff, and we'll get it pushed out there. Thank you for coming on, Shayla L. Davis. If you want to get you some air, you good. If not, go ahead, do your thing. Judge, what's happening?
You know, one of the things that, and Shayla just mentioned it, we can help rebut these lies that are being told about candidates by candidates. For example, what the gubernatorial candidate, Republican candidate in Ohio is doing to Amy Atkins is just telling out lies. It's not politics. It's just a lie. talking about how she didn't protect people during COVID. That is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
There's no political truth to that.
Mhm.
In fact, I would dare say, and this is just my opinion, that if Ramaswamy had been in charge, millions of Ohioans would have died because he would have kept everything open. Now, sometimes to overcome a pandemic, and a pandemic is something that doesn't come along very often, folks. We don't have any real good plans for it. So you have to respond to it with the best you can do. And the best you can do is not expose everybody to germs that you can't provide an antidote for. So if you're a nonprofit, if you are a activist, political activist, tell the truth when you see, hear, or are confronted with these lies by these people, because it is your life that may be at stake when the next catastrophic circumstance occurs. And we have to take responsibility. The other thing is, I don't care if you're a frat, sorority, social group, your life hangs in the balance. Your rights are hanging in the balance in this next election. Now, you can be stupid and just say, I'm just going to leave, let it happen like it happened. But the Lord did give you some common sense, and he suggests that you might use it every now and then. And this is a time you need to use your common sense to protect your own interests. Even if you hate politicians, this is about your interests. And then you can get after the politicians. You got recall, you got all kinds of methods you can utilize. But don't sit this out and sacrifice your own health and wellness.
Doctor.
Yeah, I ditto to what has already been said. But what I want to do is kind of shift a little bit, is having these thoughts of when we talk about working during this political season, and even just working for the betterment of the community, is we've got to stop with our selfish agendas and our individualistic attitudes. We are all in the fight and we are in the same fight. How we do it and the methods may differ, but we got to stop putting each other down. We got to stop hating on each other, and we got to figure out how we can come together so that we can push the agenda forward. I've been seeing so much of that where people are hating and you on the same side. Like, we can't be hating on each other on the same side and we trying to push the agenda. No, I may not do it the way you do it, Representative Shayla L. Davis. I may not do it the way Judge Nelson does it, but we still on the same side and fighting the same battle. And so we gotta shift a little bit and stop with this hating amongst each other.
Well, that's what Cleveland is notorious for.
Yeah.
You got to let me jump in, because I was going this is a point that I thought of when Judge Nelson was talking, and you said it, Dr. Burton. Here's the other reality. Just because I vote, that ain't enough. So we have a responsibility to get them other people. Because without them, we're failing.
Yep.
And so my suffrage, my grandson's suffrage, who is the idol of my life, he's everything. Anyway, shout out to RJ. That's because of everyone who isn't participating. So with that, even if we walking around, I voted, I ain't gonna worry about it, we're still in the same suffrage for those individuals who aren't. So we've got to meet them where they are and do something different to get them, because we're all impacted, because we're a collective and we come together. I voted, great. Now let me make sure some other people are voting too. We can't keep being selfish.
Well, I believe it's all about Black power. And at the end of the day, I think if people really want to know what their vote is worth or what it means, you have to understand what power means. And I think that the reason why people are not voting and everybody is at this apathy that they're in is because they truly have not seen Black power at work. It's been a long time since they actually seen a movement of how when we come together and Black folks do it, we actually get something. So they don't trust the process, because it ain't the system. They never trust the system. They don't trust the process. They don't trust the process of us getting together. They don't trust the process of none of it. So my only word I got to everybody out there is for those people who are sitting back waiting for somebody to do it for you, it's time for you to step up. If you're waiting for the council member to call a meeting to say what we're going to do to get voters out, it might be time for you to call the doggone meeting. If you was worried about everybody else doing something and waiting, it's your turn to do it, because there's so many pieces to this puzzle that has to come to place. And that's all I'm trying to get at. We should not be dependent on campaigns or anyone else to come around every 2 years, every 4 years to say we're going to dump some money in our community to get Black folks to vote. We supposed to be able to do that ourselves, because if we want the true power, we have to show them that we're together, and that's what power is. So the reason why we took advantage of is because we don't come together. And the reason why Black folks don't vote is because they don't understand what power means. So until we get to that, and that's what we're going to continue to do. That's what this radio show for. That's why Shayla L Davis is doing her job, and she's down there working hard, and she comes on this program. And we're trying to work together as a group to try to get that out there. And we're going to continue to do that along with this radio show. So till next week, everybody, we'll see y'all again. Peace.
Bye.
Oh my goodness. Let's talk art, culture, politics, and business. This is Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell.